Trust Your Struggle is a place of inspiration. We have these conversations with individuals about the monumental struggles that they've had in their life, what they've done to overcome them, how these struggles and what they've done have kind of helped define who they are today. On this episode, we speak to Jeremy Hamilton, who from an early age had to learn to adapt to his surroundings. Growing up in the hood and then moving to Eugene, Oregon was like being in an episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Having this new strict household built up a lot of suppressed anger and resentment, resulting in him running away from home and then starting over in Portland. Landing an internship at Nike opened up so many doors for his career, but he always kept an open mind to new opportunities. And Jeremy believes that you need to find what you're passionate about, these things that give you goosebumps, and put your energy and focus into that.
Of course, I'm Jeremy Hamilton. Matt, thank you so much for taking the time out to even want to talk to me, man. It's definitely an honor just to be able to just converse. You're one of my homies from, our time that we spent together, working together and such. So again, thank you so much for taking the time out to say what's up. So cheers to that, brother.
Yeah, dude. Cheers, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah,
thank you.
For sure. So for me, I've been working. Well, let's take a step back. So I was born in Fort Wayne, Indiana, most random place ever. And so I grew up in a house full of women. And meaning my my grandmother and my mom kind of co-parented me just due to certain family situations and such that I've had to deal with in regards, my father was just never there. And so there was times, my mom had to work, I had to stay with my grandmother, or my grandmother might have gotten sick. I had to go be with my mom and things like that, right? And so, of course, one thing that stood with me, or stuck with me rather, was the love and support that both my mom and my grandmother provided, no matter what. So I'm in the house with me and my two other sisters, and we all have separate dads, just to be transparent. And so that was a different situation, just dealing with that, for the fact that I had to figure out how do I fit into this like dynamic within my family. So that was an immediate experience that I had. But then also, I think as I got a little bit older, I was trying to figure out, where is my dad, and that came up quite a bit. But one of the things that I noticed, as I got older, is I realized that my family kind of filled the void for that. And so,
really quick, what's with your sisters, right? What's the age difference? Where do you fit in with your sisters? Are they younger, older? You like right in between?
No, so I'm the youngest. We're all about 2.5 years apart. I'm the youngest, so of course I was always getting beat up.
I cheers to older sisters.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I was the youngest, but they definitely were hard on me out of love, and always just looking out for me. Of course, I'm the younger, brother and whatnot, but I also had a sense of just protectiveness about them as well. So I was very cognizant of that. They're my sisters, and nobody's touching them or disrespecting them and things like that. To the best of my abilities, trying to be the protector for them. But yeah, just that dynamic of my father not being there and trying to understand, like at a younger age, or kind of like with how my mom and my grandparents kind of filled the void. I knew something was missing, but life was moving so fast that it was just like, hey, this is kind of how life is, right? And you just get kind of numb to it. And just a long story short, my mom, unfortunately, she had made some mistakes in life, and unfortunately picked up a drug habit. And I think she surrounded herself with the wrong people and kind of went down that path. And so my grandmother stepped in, and just kind of took care of everything. My grandmother and my grandfather. So I don't leave my grandfather out, but the reason I'm mentioning my grandmother so much is because her and I connected. And I think it was more so just because she was always just really the person that held the family together, but just showed an extreme amount of love and compassion. And so I just gravitated towards that. And my grandmother and I had a bond. And so from that, I'm now living like full time with my my grandparents. And so, unfortunately, speeding up a little bit here, is like when I was about from 6.5 all the way up till I was about 11. My grandmother ends up getting sick, really sick, terminally ill. And so she wanted to make sure that as she kind of had custody of me and my sisters at the time, and more so me, that we were going to be taken care of. And so when she got sick, she reached out to my aunt and uncle, who lived in Eugene, Oregon. So she's just kind of like, hey, you need to take in, Jay and the kids, just because Sam, my grandfather, is not going to be able to take care of these kids by himself. So she always had our best interests in mind, and as you can see, she kind of held the family together. So my aunt and uncle, it was kind of a no brainer from them on their side. After I talked to them about it, they just stepped in, came down from Oregon, and really just came and picked us up and brought us to Oregon. So just a quick like halt right there. Fort Wayne, Indiana is where I lived at, was just straight hood. Like, just keep it 100, right? It's just straight hood.
Yeah, for sure. I
And
bet.
so to move to Eugene, Oregon, where it's predominantly a white demographic, my aunt and uncle are, they're pretty well off. So I was living. Just think of like the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. That's exactly what it was,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly what it was,
And
right?
you got the Uncle Phil too, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, man. So I end up moving in with my aunt and uncle. Where I'm in Oregon, and it's just like culture shock. Everything's just like, what the heck is going on? And I had to adapt, right? And so from that, my aunt and uncle, they didn't have kids, and they were well established in their careers. They're 31 at this time, and they're taking in 3 kids. So it was me and my two sisters
Damn.
that moved to Eugene, Oregon, and so it was amazing that they took us in, and able to just be the protector. But here's the catch, right? So my aunt and uncle, they're both in law enforcement, and so for me to come from a very loving, and I'd say my aunt and uncle weren't loving, but a very like you know how your grandmothers are, your grandparents are, right? They're always trying to look out for you. To come
And
from
they'll give
that,
you everything too, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure. So I moved into a household that was completely the opposite. Everything was the opposite when I moved to Oregon, right? So I'm in a strict household, predominantly living in very like well off like neighborhood with predominantly white folks that I honestly don't relate to. Um, and so I went through this period of just adaptation that I think took me about 3.5 years. So I moved to Oregon when I'm in the let's see, I moved to Oregon when I was in the fifth grade. And so I went through this phase where very strict household, not really knowing what's going on. My grandmother passing away. My mom's not around. My dad's not around. My aunt and uncle are trying to play mom and dad. So I'm just kind of like, what is going on? And my sisters are going through the same thing as well. So I don't want to like leave them out. But for me, I was just trying to figure myself out. And I'm starting to develop my own sense of self as a young man. And I just had like a rebel phase where I was getting in fights so much just because a lot of what I've learned now is just a lot of suppressed anger that I had inside of me. So I'm starting to get in
right.
fights and stuff and just not getting along with my aunt and uncle, and my sisters and I are starting to bicker more. So one summer, my uncle like grounds me. Quite honestly, for the summer, it's just I wasn't getting good grades. If I get a C, he's down my throat on my report card. Like, he's just down my throat about that, and I'm just like, what the heck is going on? It's a super strict household. So he ends up putting me in. They end up making the decision to put me in private school in my 8th grade year. So I go into private school, totally just predominantly white. And I'm not trying to bash white people, but you just got to understand where the neighborhood that I come from,
For
right?
sure,
And
yeah.
I'm trying to like adapt and understand like how do I fit in like socially and all
It's
this
a
stuff.
culture shock, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely, man. So this is the reason I'm laboring on this topic so much is because this is like the roots that sets me up to propel into other opportunities and whatnot. So uh, basically, going to private school, just that was just like I've never experienced anything like that. It was just very strict schedule, very strict regimen, and just trying to figure out my way through the world. And then I come out of that, I think a little bit more refined is what it did. And my aunt and uncle knew that. So I started to mature more emotionally, start to figure myself out. And so I go into high school. I'll just skip through high school. Like high school was great. It was weird because I lived in one part. I actually lived in Springfield, Oregon, my first 2 years of high school, and then my aunt and uncle had got a house built because it was just we're all growing kids, so like we need to have more space. So they build a house in this new development in Eugene. So I immediately have to switch school districts. And so I can't keep going to Springfield High School. So I have to go to Sheldon High School. So I go to Sheldon, and like Springfield and Sheldon are completely opposite. So Springfield High School is like the ghetto high school. And then Sheldon's like preppy, like I drive my parents' Volvo, brand new Volvo or whatever, the class. So I had to switch friends. Like I had made a whole new set of friends. Also made had to switch basketball teams. That was tough. Sports and just figuring out how to fit in and everything like that. So ended
Hold up.
up, yeah.
What grade was this in that you switched schools?
So yeah, so I switched schools my junior year. So the beginning of my junior year, I started going to Sheldon.
So you were like halfway through your high school.
Yeah, halfway through my high school career, and like I was just getting my feet under me, and I had aspirations to go back home and go play at the University of Michigan for basketball. And so I started, taking my summers very serious my sophomore year. And so from that, I'm just like developing. My body's starting to develop. There's some awesome pictures that my aunt and uncle had shared with me before high school that are even actually kind of right in the middle of middle school. I was a real chubby kid when I first moved in with them. So they like changed everything. I was no longer eating snacks, eating bad food, eating late. I'm starting to eat wheat bread, wheat thins, chicken, fish, like totally different diet. And so I'm like looking night and day, like my body's developing more. And so I'm starting to take like my like athleticism and sports and stuff more serious. And even in high school, I wasn't a very like social guy, like partying and dating girls. I was never doing that. I was always it was like books and sports and hanging out with a couple of my really really close guy friends and like going to church and stuff. Right. So that was like my high school career. And I switched schools my junior year, and I remember I had a job at Foot Locker one summer, not one summer, my sophomore, the year between my sophomore year and my junior year, had a job at Foot Locker, and one of my buddies that went to Springfield with came in. He was like, "Yo, where have you been? I heard you're switching schools. You haven't been coming to some of the summer camps we've been having." I was like, "Yeah, man, I got to go to Sheldon and da 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 da." And he's just like, "Hey, I'm hearing that some scouts from UW and a few other schools are starting to like pay attention to you, man. Like a couple guys that showed up in to some of the summer leagues that we were having, and asking coach about you." And where he got this information, I still don't know to this day. But me switching schools kind of, I had to like start over when I went to this new school because I was playing varsity, right? So like I'm a junior now, so I got to play varsity. So I was coming in behind guys who were already established, no matter how good I was. And I knew that when I was switching schools, I knew I was better than these kids. Like especially when we were having our summer ball, our summer hoops, I was killing these cats, right? And so, but part of it is, their parents are donating money to the booster club and
Yeah,
recreation
so
with the
they're on
coach
it.
and all that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I didn't really starting until the end of my junior year and then all of my senior year. And so by then, like my confidence was just crushed. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I was my confidence was crushed. I'm just like I'm killing these guys in practice and all this stuff, but coach won't give me burn time and all this other stuff. I did have I ran into another issue with my uncle where I got another C minus on my report card. The beginning of my junior year, so he snatched me off the basketball team. He's my uncle and my aunt were very very strict out of love to make sure that I was flying high and tight. Like they wanted to make sure that I was doing what I needed to do to be a successful young man in this world. And I loved them for that, but I hated them for that at the same time during the times that I got snatched, right? And so I got pulled off the basketball team. Super embarrassing moment for me in high school. Everybody knew that I should have been starting and playing, uh, and so I was going through that. And then I started to build some resentment with my aunt and uncle because of that. So yeah, I'm just feeling like I'm starting to figure out who I am and what I want to some degree. Granted, I'm like what a 17-year-old. I'm making all kinds of silly mistakes, nothing major, just lying about dumb stuff or whatever it may be. And so I'm starting, just really coming to my own. And the basketball thing, when my uncle had snatched me from the basketball team because I got like a C minus, I think it was in my chemistry class is what I think it happened. and he sets for the basketball team, and that was like my safe haven and where I felt, I could go and really exert energy and focus and kind of my escape from my world of what I felt like I was dealing with at the time, whether I was right or wrong. It's just what I felt. And so, and again, he did that out of love. Like I look back on that now, and he totally did that out of love, But when he stashed me off the basketball team, that really hurt me. And it was a
Yeah, he
lot
was
of
looking
regret.
out.
Yeah, he was
He
looking
wanted
out for me.
academics and you to do your athletics at the same time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But my coach is looking at me like, you're eligible. Like, why are we having this conversation right now? Like, why are you not playing? Like, why are your parents being so strict? So that was like, I was kind of the talk of the school year, to be honest. And just especially within my social group. So, that summer going into my senior year was just a very frustrating summer for me. And I went through like a lot of resentment and these emotions started coming back again. I'm going through this emotional roller coaster, all this stuff. So, um, let's see, I moved into my senior year, high school, and I'm just cruising. I think I'm feeling like I'm, I don't know if I felt I was being like depressed or whatever it may be. So I end up going through high school, graduating, and I make a decision after graduation night that, all right, I'm not going anywhere to play basketball. That ship has kind of sailed for me. Um, I'm not going to get recruited and all this stuff. And so I made the decision that I no longer want to live with my aunt and uncle. And this is where my life changes in like a night. So I remember we had our high school graduation party. It was like an all night party. It was at the DAC, Downtown Athletic Club in Eugene. And so I remember just hanging out. I was telling one of my homeboys, I was like, Zach, like, I'm about to move to Portland. And so just to kind of give some context, I was like really going to church a lot at the time. And so probably my best friend at the time, Eric, his parents were going to the same church and they were associate pastors at this church that I was going to called ECF. And so then they ended up going to start a church in Portland. So Eric and I stayed in touch. And my whole high school career, I'm telling him everything I'm going through. And so he's like, dude, you need to get out of there. Like, it doesn't seem like you're in a healthy situation. He doesn't have all the context because me, of course, I'm telling it from my point of view, right? So he's going to be my friend and be there for me. And he's like, I'll talk to my parents. You can just come live up here with us just to get you out of there, just get you to Portland and get you around like more multicultural setting. And just, it's a better look than Eugene. And so I'm like telling my boy Zach at the high school graduation party, like, Zach, I'm going to move out of my aunt and uncle's house and I'm going to kind of sneak out and I'm going to basically run away. And so,
what year was this?
This was 1999, the
Okay.
summer of 1999. So I remember my high school graduation party was on a Friday, and Saturday I was quiet. I didn't really interact with a lot of people at the house. Saturday night, I remember I packed all my bags, I took them out back, and I hid them in the bushes, and I wrote a letter to my aunt and uncle, just kind of explaining why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I got up at like 6 in the morning on Sunday morning, and my friend Eric had drove down. He drove down to come get me, and from Portland. And I remember carrying my bags to the church that was down the street, and he met me there. And I went to Portland, and I never came back. And so I think about like 3 or 4 weeks later, my uncle finally figures out where I'm at because people are gonna talk or whatever. He's like, he's like, so I see you decided you wanted to make your own move as a man. And I was like, yeah, I just felt like this is the best thing for me to do. And so from there, it's one of the most amazing blessings that ever happened to me. So I'm living with my boy Eric for like a year and a half or so, and then I'm like, all right, I got to kind of move out and be my own man. So I have had this career working at Foot Locker all the way through high school and up till now. And so I got a job at the Foot Locker in Portland. Started making my own money. Decided to get a roommate, and just a guy I met up in Portland. I was playing basketball with, and we just hit it off. Who, homie Will Hill, I'll never forget him. He was funny as hell, but he was a good hooper. So we just clicked, and we ended up getting an apartment together. And so then I ended up getting a girlfriend. And so I'm dating this girl, and then and I remember her mom kind of pulled me to the side and was like, "So I know that you like really like my daughter and everything, but like, so what are you gonna do when she goes to college? And like, what are you doing?" It really sparked off like a conversation about college. And so she's like, because I wasn't going to school at the time. I'm thinking I just got to make money just to survive and pay my rent and all this stuff, right?
You got to sell shoes, right?
Yeah, right. So she's like, what are you doing with yourself, basically? And I never been asked that question really, right? Out of like high school. So basically, it boils down to you're not going to date my daughter if you're not going to school. And so she decides that
Fair enough.
she's going to put me. She's like, what I'm going to do is, if you're really serious with my daughter, I'm going to pay for your first trimester of first trimester of Portland Community College. And if you like it, we'll figure out a way that I can help you pay for this, but you're going to pay some of it as well. And we'll just try to figure out, get you to Portland State, to just take some prerequisites, see how it is. So,
Damn, who does that?
yeah, right. So that conversation led to me going to class, taking my prerequisites. I'm like, I actually like school. So she ends up figuring out how to help me pay for like my first year of community college. And then I just never looked back. So I put myself through school and just took out loans, paying that stuff off, whatever, go to Portland State, got a business degree. It's minor is focused more so on human computer interaction. So just understanding how to use computer software to solve business issues and problems and all that other stuff, right? So it was an amazing experience, man. That was like a blessing, right? And so from there, I then am like I transferred to Portland State University. I meet a ton of people. This is like social Jeremy comes out. I meet a ton of people, make a lot of friends. Some with the right, a lot with the right crowd, some with the wrong crowd. I figured that out real quickly. Got rid of those friends, and I think my career at Nike took off from there. So I get this amazing internship. So when I was working at Foot Locker, they have like these reps. They call them Econ reps. So anyone that knows like Nike, is Nike spelled backwards. So the whole idea is that these representatives know Nike inside and out. Is why that is what it is, right? So from there, basically, this guy introduces me to some Nike people, and I make some great relationships. I get an amazing internship opportunity. That then leads me into this world of just this creative world and understanding how to build product and understand how to tell stories and marketing and product marketing and all this stuff, and being around just world-class professionals who are just super creative and all that. And
hold up, before we get into your Nike experience really quick, I just want to let anyone know who's listening or watching that currently right now Jeremy's living in San Diego, but he's still rocking a beanie, so he's repping Portland right now, even though he's in San Diego. That Portland doesn't leave, right?
Yeah, I'm actually trying to hide my bald head. Like I don't want to. It's probably gonna be super shining if I didn't have this thing on, so I don't want to.
No, you're always gonna rock the Portland look, man. Like you can't get away from it.
Yeah, that's not a lie. That is no lie.
Like still to this day, you're still rocking the Portland look. So
yeah, man.
It is part of you for sure. So yeah, get into the whole Nike, your internship at Nike, man.
Oh man, it's amazing, and I think it was more than the work and being exposed to the work. It was more of the people and the mindset of the people. And one of the people that I met, there's two people that I met that things that they've said to me during my internship stuck with me always. So one thing that, like this guy named Jeff Henderson, he's a designer, world-class designer guy. I remember one thing he told me was, here at Nike or anywhere you go, just because you're, at the time I was finishing up school, right? It was like my senior year of school. So we're fast forwarded. This is like 2008. So he's kind of like, he goes, one thing is use this place as your school. So don't come here thinking of work. Use this place as your playground and your sandbox for you to figure out where you want to go in your career. Because, obviously Nike's a global company. So there's all kinds of opportunities in business units you can get involved with or whatever. But use this place. Learn on Nike's dime. Go ask questions. Do informational interviews. Do stretch assignments. Like use this place because the opportunity's there. But it's only going to be there if you take it and grab it and run with it, right? So that always stuck with me. And then I met, obviously, you and I talked about this, but Julian Duncan, he's one of the most amazing people I've ever met.
For sure.
Quite honestly.
Yeah.
Just as a person, not even his like profession and what he's done over his career, which is crazy where he's at right now, but just as a person and as a Black male figure that I could honestly look up to and really try to fine tune and hone my game based off of the success stories that he has as a person and as a professional. And so there wasn't any one particular thing he's ever said to me that just stuck with me, but I think to see his consistency to always elevate, and he always had this phrase, which he was part of the helping out with like LeBron James business unit, and they always had this phrase with LeBron, this mantra with chasing greatness. And so it's always trying to elevate your game, and always have something you're trying to strive for. So like just seeing how his career has evolved, even him, he has a beautiful family now, and just how he is it's amazing. And there's a ton of other people that are like him that I've witnessed, but I gravitated towards him and really built a relationship with him. And so he's somebody that I look up to, and Jeff is an amazing person as well. I stay in touch with him as well. He's someone that I definitely look to as a mentor and a male figure that I really value what they become as men. And so I'm going through these amazing experiences where I'm working on global product. We're rolling out, like the team I'm involved in are rolling out some amazing stuff. And the group that I worked in was men's training, global footwear, with Nike football specifically. So they were trying to elevate Nike's presence in the football realm. And so we were doing everything from going to visit these amazing athletes to getting insights from retail to just understanding the ecosystem of the high school athlete who's a football player, but not only on field performance, but then off field stuff. So it was like an amazing experience to understand how to build product around that, but then what is the go to market strategy for that? So that was like super eye opening, and working with agency partners who help tell the story and all this stuff. So you can only imagine what that is like working at Nike.
That's a dope experience.
It's such an amazing experience, right? So the best thing about that is I remember one day one of the managers of the intern class, she pulls me into her office. She goes, "Hey, I want you to look at some numbers." So she goes, for the intern class that you were involved in, sorry, I was picking something up. She goes, the intern class that you were involved in, there were 24,000 applicants worldwide that applied this summer. And I want you to understand that 122 were chosen. And you were one of the 122. So the reason I'm telling you this is because you have what it takes. You were chosen for a reason, and you need to take this opportunity. You need to run with it. And so from that point on, I took nothing for granted. I made sure that every relationship that I built, I stayed in touch. It was just an unbelievable experience. Now, the downside to all of this, right? They're pretty much setting me up. I'm getting ready to graduate. They're pretty much setting me up to take on the actual role that I'm interning for. So like the opportunity was right there. Fortunately, this is in the summer of like 2008, moving into 2009. The economy crashed, so they didn't have a head count to bring me on and all this other stuff. So, but the experience was there, right? And so from there, I had to seek out opportunities, and I tapped into the agency network that Nike had and those relationships that I built over time. And so from there, man, I just really just stayed in the agency lane, just because of I believe agencies force you to activate left and right brain. So you kind of have like this very analytical side, but you also have this super crazy creative side. So you kind of have to act as a chameleon in the agency space, and you got to act quick on your feet. And so that tailored to my personality. You look at everything I've been through in life, I'm pivoting left and right, adjusting, being a chameleon. All that tailors into the skill set that I need to survive in the agency world. And so, this is perfect timing around 2008, 2009, digital takes off. And I move into, just like digital project manager lane. And that I haven't looked back since. The opportunities have just exploded for me. And just by having Nike on my resume has opened so many doors to have conversations with people. And,
for sure.
Right. So I'll pause in the professional thing, the family thing, right? So I'm sure you're probably wondering, like, where's your family at? Like, where's your sisters and everything else at, right? Life is moving at blazing speed at this point for me. And unfortunately, I have lost not contact, because I talk to them and go home occasionally for like Christmas and holidays and text and call occasionally and stuff like that. But I think I was just figuring out who I was as a man. This was like a mission of mine to like, Jeremy, who are you? Like, what's your purpose in life? And what are you trying to achieve? And so for me, unfortunately, the unfortunate sacrifice of that was family. And I'll take the blame for sure. But I kind of separated myself because I remember the pain that and the hurt and the frustration and confusion I was going through moving to Oregon, and then in dealing with all of the stuff I dealt with as through middle school and high school. I just didn't like the taste of that, and so for me, I decided to just separate myself from it. And it was wrong. Now that I look back on it now, and the conversations I have with some family members now, is just wasn't the right thing to do. But I'm trying to figure out my life and stuff like that, and so
At the
um,
time, though, like it's kind of all you had to do.
yeah, for sure, for sure. But I truly believe now that nothing should come in the way of me staying connected and being bonded with my family. Like I learned that
Yeah.
now. That's a real lesson that I learned because that's the backbone when all else is done. Especially what I've seen in the professional realm, where you can swear someone has the most amazing job and is locked and loaded, and then in like a week later they get laid off, right? And so it's like, what's the fallback plan when things start to fall apart in life and your professional career? You should probably have the backbone of your family being the backbone and the support system. And so, I've been blessed enough in life that my family has always loved me enough to never uh, send me to exile,
Right. Yeah.
right? They've always
Do
been
you think they
supportive.
kind of understood what you were going through?
Um, yeah, I think they understood, but I don't think they looked at it as a reason for me to separate myself,
Of course. Yeah.
right? And so I did it out of ignorance and just immaturity of like frustration and stuff like that. And so, I'm back to my professional career, man. I'm like blazing, like I'm moving fast. Like opportunities are popping up. I'm, understanding how to perform at a very like high level with project management, especially in the digital space. I get this amazing opportunity where I go live over in Germany, in Hanover, Germany, for like 6 months. Um, I basically got a job with this e-com company, and we're putting a strategy together of how we're going to spin up business in the U.S. with the e-com business for this company. And so I'm over here working with Europeans, specifically Germans, trying to like, their style of work is completely different from how America and how they market to people in Europe is completely different how they market to people in America. So trying to pitch to the board members of like, this is what the ecosystem looks like when we're tailoring to the American consumer, right? So putting that whole story together and working with my counterparts, right? And it's just culture shock again, living in like Europe and Germany. And
Yeah.
so and I hope the consistency that we're seeing here is that life has its twists and turns and changes, and you got to adapt to them. And so that's what I've learned, a skill set that I feel that I've almost mastered to this point now, right? And that's just because of the fire that I've had to go through or whatever. But
I think you learned that at an early age too, which allowed you to do that later on in your life.
yeah, for sure, for sure. At a very early age, I definitely learned that. I think you kind of feel the heat at an earlier age, but you learn how to take the learnings and apply that to your life, like applied science, right? Like you figure out how to adapt and apply that to life. At a and you get turned a little bit older or whatever, and I guess you just call it maturity, right? So I go live in Europe, man, and I'm like making amazing friends and learning all kinds of stuff. Learned a little bit of Deutsch. I'm like everything. And so then I had an amazing experience. I went on vacation when I was done over there. I went on vacation in Barcelona. That was the craziest thing ever because it's like the food, the culture, they embrace everyone and the love and like the people are so beautiful. Like everyone, like it was just amazing over there. And I haven't been back since. That was like 2010 when I went, but I haven't been back since. So I come back. Um, here's the here's the crazy thing. So I'm on the plane going to Germany, tarmac in Portland. The plane shuts down. We were not taking off. We're in the tarmac for like 2 hours. So this guy sitting next to me, we're just chatting. Like, hey, yeah, I'm Dave, and I'm like, yeah, I'm Jeremy, whatever. And he's like, so what's up? Were you going over to Germany? I'm like, yeah. He's like, this guy's like pretty well off. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna go pick up my Porsche, from the Porsche like factory because I'm gonna drive it there because the tariffs when you have put miles on it, it's classified as like a used car, so the tariffs are cheaper when you import it, right? So I was like, yeah, I gotta. Well, I was like, I'm not doing that, but I gotta like I was like, I got a pretty amazing opportunity, man. I'm going to work for this company, and we started talking and talking, and then we, the flight over there, we're talking the whole time, and we fly into Amsterdam, and he had to take a separate flight where he was going, and he's like, let's stay in touch. Like, I'd love to hear how things map out. So 3 years later, this guy ends up reaching out. It was like, hey, I have this awesome opportunity for you if you're interested. I think it'd be a great fit. It's really I run my own web shop. I basically have this proprietary like product that I pitch or that I sell in sports teams, and I'm trying to sell into sports teams, and it's basically to help monetize engagement with fans. So tickets, games, whatever. So he's like, I think you'd be perfect because you already have relationships in the sports realm and with a lot of sports teams. So I'd love to like leverage your relationships, and I'd love for you, to be essentially the product owner of this proprietary product that I built and go pitch it. So I take the job. I'm like, duh, makes perfect sense. And from there, I meet like almost every NBA team. I have a door in to have a conversation. I built with these relationships because of that. So that was like amazing. So I did that for like 2 years, traveling all over the place. Um, and it's just like these like not to keep harping like doing like talking about my resume, but it's just the amazing. It's amazing what life has led me through because of my persistence, the jump and the faith that I took in myself. And there were times where I didn't really believe in myself, but others believed in me and pushed me to go. Um, and my determination, I think, really, really put me in a position to see these opportunities and take advantage of these opportunities. Because if I never jumped, if I firmly believe if I never ran away from my aunt and uncle's house, if I never went to college, if I never took these jobs or went and saw opportunities and avenues that perhaps other people may have not gone or experienced, I don't know if I would have had these doors open for me and these amazing life
Yeah.
experiences that I could speak to, man.
Well, that's exactly
So
the point. It's like you left those opportunities open. You left that space for those things to happen. Like you weren't shut off by it whatsoever. Like
yeah,
if you were shut off, none of that shit would have happened, and who knows where you would have been. But because of where your mindset was at of like, all right, I'm just gonna whatever happens.
hmm
It kind of led you to the space of like leaving the doors open.
yeah, indeed. Not the biggest guy to like. One thing that I have a few people that I stay in touch with just from a mentorship standpoint, and we always talk, and I always give them and what's going on with my career and my life and family and stuff. And one thing that always resounds is resounding, and they keep repeating to me is don't burn any bridges, right?
For sure.
As basic as that is, it's so important. It's super duper important um, to keep these channels of communication open, and not so much from a selfish standpoint of okay, when I need something, I'm gonna ping you or hit you up, or yeah, it was never for that. I think it was because I have learned the importance of community. I've learned the importance of family. I've learned the importance of teamwork. And being in a space where you have individuals who are extremely talented, who are very loving, who are very caring, who have your best interest in mind, where you contribute to this circle of friends and trust, there's this synergy there that's undeniable. And I've always relished the opportunity to work within like a team environment because one of the things that I like the most about, especially from a professional standpoint, is I'm not good at everything, but I know what I'm good at. But I also know that if we have an objective as a team, how I contribute to that end goal, but then how I should hold the other team members accountable because of their skill set and how they contribute to that end goal as well. And so I've always relished that opportunity to work in a very talented team environment. And, that old like saying of, you know, uh, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're probably in the wrong room, right? And so I love that, right? Like I always want to put myself in a position where I'm driving value, first of all, because I never want to be that guy that's like standing in front of the class, a group project, we got an A on it, but I stood there as if I contributed to that when I really didn't. I never want to be that guy, and I've never been that guy. But I also want to be that guy that's soaking up, a shit ton of information and new perspectives from people because I feel like that's what life is all about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're absolutely right. So if you were, with everything that you've gone through, all of your experiences and stuff, if you were to go back to your old self, like early 20s or something like that, like
Oh man.
what did, right? Like what advice would you give yourself?
The very first thing I would tell myself is financial literacy and
Damn. All right.
understanding because I look at stocks now. So here's so I talked to my homeboy about this. So I remember when I got my first retail job. Sorry, my first retail job out of high school outside of Foot Locker was with Nike. So I worked at Nike retail my freshman year in college when I was in Portland. I remember when Nike Town was off of Fifth and Salmon. And so I remember when I signed up for my benefits and everything, they had stock options for employees. And so this was like 2002, 2003. And so stock at the time, Nike stock at the time was $14 a share. So I remember,
Yeah.
I remember I was talking to the HR person. I'm like, what are stocks? Like, I don't even know what stocks are. I'm like 22 at the time. I didn't really know what stocks are, right? And so she's like, oh yeah, these are just like you become like just think of yourself as like a partial owner of the company. Like you get a piece of the company, like literally. And so I'm like, I didn't really understand that. I never really dove in and got curious and was a sponge to like, all right, I'm gonna soak this up and like really understand it. So long story short, I set it up where I was contributing like $30 a paycheck to just purchase Nike stock. So so what I ended up doing, I had like a family. My friends kill me every time I tell them the story. I had a family emergency, so I sold my stock. I think I came out with like $600 at the time I sold all my stocks. I was just buying like I don't know, like 2 or 3 shares a paycheck or something. And so I had a family emergency, and I was like, all right, I need to pull this money out because I need it. I'm broke. I got to go fly home for some stuff. I think it was, I forgot what the emergency was actually. There was something that happened. I took the money out and I told myself, I was like, I'm going to put the money back because I think this is a good thing, right? And life just took legs of its own and I never put the money back. Like I got distracted and got whatever, and I never put the money back up. So I looked at Nike stock now, right? I'm not even going to get into the numbers, but if you understood purchasing Nike stock at $14 a share and looking at where it's at now,
Yeah.
like I think you know what that's about. So I'm definitely kicking myself for that. But just understanding everything from building credit to 401k to balancing. I remember kids would probably go have overdraft fees if they understood what we had to do back when I was in high school. When you get a checkbook and you had a balancing sheet on the back of the checkbook,
Oh, right. Yeah. You had to
right?
write
You
it
remember
in there.
that, right?
Yeah.
So like that was my introduction to like my uncle. I remember he took me to Ulano Credit Union and was like, "Okay, you got a checking account now. Here's your checkbook. This is how you balance checkbook." And he never like we never really dove in, or I never really owned it and dove in. And I just stopped writing checks because I was like bouncing checks and stuff. I wasn't like balancing it right, and there was no internet like portal I could sign into to like, oh, okay, I only have $8 left. Like you really had to balance the checkbooks in the back of the checkbook, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
financial literacy will be number one. Number two, what would I tell myself? Number two would have to be believe in yourself. Like I was so insecure. Yeah, I was so insecure, I think, in high
That's
school.
surprising.
Yeah, like I was super insecure, but I never showed it. Like I was always, like one of the athlete guys that alpha male type of mentality or whatever. And not that I was like better than anyone. It's just the competitive edge you have, when you're competing and playing sports and stuff like that. You got to hold this edge and stuff. So I definitely internally was suppressing a lot of like insecurity I had. So I think it's just believing in myself. I think there was one summer that I was just like when I transferred to Sheldon, I was like, why are these kids like starting over me? And I'm killing these kids. Like summer pickup, like practices, I'm killing these kids, and my confidence got shot when it came like game time for like. I'm like, why are these? But there was politics involved and all this other stuff. Reason why I wasn't playing, how I should have been playing or whatever. So, but just believing in myself, not just for athletics, but just as a person and as a man, that I could get through anything, and like anything I put my mind to is what I've kind of learned. Um, don't let anyone ever tell you that you're not capable of doing something or saying that you're not gonna be shit. Because I was told that a couple times, and
Wow.
it shook me up a little bit. But I think when I got out on my own, I was just like, regardless of what anyone says, I still got to go do what I got to do to take care of myself. So I think, and I think also the other thing is embracing family more. Even
Nice.
though
Yeah.
I had some unfavorable shifts in my family and my life, I think it's family's everything, man. Don't ever. Not that I was ever disloyal or anything like that. I think it's just don't ever separate yourself from family. That shit just doesn't work out in the long haul. Like it just you miss so many opportunities and memories you could create and bonds you could create with family members and stuff. So I think if I were um to just share anything with anyone, for me it's I think it's find what you're like passionate and like love about yourself and the things that give you goosebumps. Those are the things that you need to pursue in life, and those are the things that you need to put all your energy and focus into.
100%.
Uh, and so, a lot of like, I think as I was kind of maturing and going through my phase of maturation, if you want to call it that, is I found myself focusing on like titles, jobs, things that other people viewed as like ideas of success. And while I've, obviously attained some great experiences and things that help me grow as a person or whatever it is, a couple times I found myself like, I'm not really passionate about what I'm doing right now or what's going on. So for me, it's like, do things that at an early age that give you like, if it does not give you goosebumps, don't invest too much time into it. Yeah, go experience things and go get some amazing experiences. But I think the ultimate outcome out of that is you should have an idea of what you like and ultimately what you love. And I think when you find out what you like and what you love, and it ultimately gives you goosebumps, you're almost willing to die for that. And when you do that, when you're in that type of space, your output, the fruits of your labor, the blessings and benefits of that are like tenfold. And it doesn't feel like work. It feels like a passion. It feels like love. And you put your all into it and you start developing this monster. And it's a beautiful monster because now you're in this space where you fine tune your craft because of repetition and dedication. People are starting to realize that you're an expert now, or like a subject matter expert or professional or whatever it may be. And now they want to pay you because you're doing something that you're passionate about, and the fruits of your labor are conveying that. So that would be my advice, from a professional standpoint. I think from a personal standpoint, socially with family and stuff is, um, a don't hang out with dead weight people that don't drive value or have the same vision and perspective as you are. And it doesn't mean that they're not good people because they don't have the same vision as you. They just don't fit your life's plan and where you're trying to strive to. So don't, surround yourself with people that aren't a part of that and help you fulfill that. And I think the other thing too, again, I just want to harp on like the family side of things is,
Right.
like definitely embrace your family. That's a big one. That's a huge one for sure.
And I think about like when you talk about the passion side, right? Like doing what you love, finding that passion and like running with it. Not everyone knows what that is, or
Yeah.
they haven't discovered that yet. So like, allow yourself to create some time to experiment and explore like what that might be, because you might have a general idea, but you don't know exactly like what that is. So back to your story is like keep those opportunities open and see where that goes and find your lane, if
Yeah.
you will, like, because not some people are like, I don't know what I'm passionate about, or so at that time, like, just think about what gets those goosebumps and figure out like where you can do that at.
Yeah. Yeah. You're only gonna find. I mean, there's the lucky few that just come out of the womb and they're like, yeah, I know that I want to be a
Very
pianist,
few.
and like, right. Like,
Right. Yeah.
I think some people, where you're gonna find these passions or these things about life that you really like is going to make mistakes and going to experience life and taking chances. And always have a vision or an idea of like, I like vanilla ice cream, so I'm only going to go to shops that sell vanilla ice cream, right? So like, figure out what kind of is it, French vanilla, what kind of ice cream is it you like or whatever, right? So it's like, go put yourself in a space that you feel as if is going to put you in the best position to see what you like and do what you like, whether that's traveling or sports or being a chef or whatever it may be, right? Like, so it's like making sure you put yourself in a space that you have an idea that that's probably going to lead to where I like it, and take some chances and go experience new things, and be open to that. Be open to that change and that little bit of friction or unfamiliarity when you do that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, dude, thanks so much for meeting up and sitting down and talking about this. It was awesome. I had a lot of fun. So it was great.
Yeah. Also,
So anyone watching or listening, if they want to follow you and keep up with what you have going on, do you want to give a shout out to any of your social channels or anything like that?
yeah, for sure. So my Instagram is ham on the gram. So it's HAMONDAGRAM. And LinkedIn, Jeremy Hamilton, San Diego. Those are the two that I'm most active on.
Awesome.
And happy to connect with whoever and have some good conversation and see if there's synergy there to whatever it may be.
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like you might have a lot of people reaching out to you after this. So.
No worries.
It was good, man. Thank you so much. I was really had a good time. It was great.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for the time. It was a pleasure to see you, man.
Yeah, definitely. All right, dude.
All right, man. I'll holler at you later. Peace.